first time talking about city games in the project that we are currently running on public, and so enjoy. Just a very quick introduction information. First thing is we have received Impulse Access Creative Industry Innovation funding from AWS. It's a federal investment banking from Austria, distributing money from ministries, and we are realizing the project in the course of this funding. And the second thing, we will try to make everything about this project open, all the documents, hardware, software, even business models when it's possible. So you would be able to, they're all licensed under Creative Commons, and you can have a look afterwards. First thing, what is the vision? What is driving us? Since some years we've been thinking about bringing playfulness to the city, but not just enabling playful things in the city, but making it become a part of the routine, in the sense that when the life gets monotonous, the city can offer playful interventions and make your life in a way more playful. And we believe that this kind of playing, or in general playing, is a very strong method for being creative, but also what we call the flow, in the sense that when you are very attracted by something, when you are completely focused in doing something, it is in a way called the flow state. We have seen, and there are a lot of studies, that when the person is in this flow state, the time perception changes, he becomes more active and very focused on the things he is doing. And we want to somehow bring this flow state more into the daily life, and that has been also one driving force in realizing this project. In a very brief way, City Games is kind of a platform for making cities in the game. One important detail about it is that it comes as a board game, like very similar to Monopoly or this kind of games, because we find that this kind of form, this kind of modality is something very familiar to most of the people, and we are very used to playing. We know how to buy it, how to open it, how to learn it, how to play it with friends. And somehow, when we wanted to make a complex system for the city that involves a lot of different layers of the city, of play modalities, also of technology, it was important to make this in a very simple concept, and this is why we go with the board game form. And one other important part of it is that it's using technology, but creative technologies. So it's using not just electronics, but also smart materials and public infrastructure and this kind of existing things in many levels, but in creative ways, to make the games more magical and exciting in a way. Let me show you a quick teaser that we prepared. And now more into the details of the concept. When we design and plan and construct this platform, this system, it is quite important to look at a wider scale of the things. And this is why we set up this ecosystem map to try to figure things out in its position, and also think a bit more about the interactions in between them. There are, in a way, four important factors in our City Games ecosystem. First one is, of course, the city, and the city with its infrastructure, with public transport, with its buildings, with its maps, with its urban planning, history, management, energy, water distribution. All these small things are going to become part of this ecosystem, because there will be interactions on many levels for such a board game. And the second level is the community. And when we mean community, we don't mean only the players that would play or be interested in such platform, but in means of by making it open, we want to also get people to build stuff, to get more active in making these games. And this is somehow essential to have active participants in this system. And also one small differentiation is usually like the first target group that's coming to mind is tourists, because this is especially attractive for them. But actually our most important target group, or let's leave alone the word target group, but let's say the people that we want to address to are actually the citizens, because our vision is to make the city more playful, and in this case Vienna, starting with Vienna. And in that case, it is important that people who live in the city, the citizens themselves, are aware of this and becoming participants in one way or another in this system. And then we have the city games, that is also in itself a small ecosystem consisting of several pieces. I will go into detail in the next slides, but last one I would like to mention is VRI, or as we call White Rabbit Industries. In order to successfully execute and plan and build such a system, we need to have some kind of a commercial, economical or managerial structure. Of course, we want to bring our creativity also to rethink and redesign such systems. But you can think of White Rabbit Industries as like a network of companies, institutions, and people, either employed or freelancer, that are coming together to build something for the city to make it more playful. And this is why also we want to keep this company structure or financials or models as open as possible, so that everyone can take somehow part in it. Okay, now going more into the details of this platform, you can think of 4 main categories that have come to emerge. In the center is the board map. Is like if you imagine Monopoly coming with its board, for us this would be the board map, and in a way it would be the map on some kind of cardboard or this paper thing, but it would also encompass electronics inside. And this would be the main tool to play or navigate, and your main game device, let's say. And along with it, 2 other things. One is the inventory, in the sense that all these small things that accompany the gameplay. Like in Monopoly, there would be these pieces or the money or the cards. And for us, again, this can be little pieces, but also 3D printed objects, laser cut things, maybe blacklight torches, all these kind of different objects that can be used in the game. For playbook, we didn't, first it was more like an inventory object, but now it's becoming more important. Somehow playbook is the document that encompasses all the knowledge of this project and of city games. So for example, this presentation is actually the playbook itself, because what we want to do is prepare this document, publish it as a book, present it in this kind of talks or make it open, and it would contain all the information related with this game. But for example, also when you buy the game itself, it would be the manual inside it that would not only tell you how to play or what the rules are, but also tell you how to hack it, how to open it, and how to modify your game or build your own games from scratch, actually. And when these systems are employed, when these objects are starting to be used, then what's happening inside is the game, actually. That's the pre-designed, predefined experience in a way, or the game itself, but it is not something tangible, but it's some kind of the soul of all this system. Now, if you go into details of the board map, let me show you quickly some small prototypes we have. We have been thinking of, first, if you make the board map big, like, again, Monopoly thing, it's not very practical to go out and play in the city. That's why we decreased it into this hexagonal form that would carry the map. It would be modular somehow, so you can divide the city into hexagonal maps, so that when you play the game, you can just pick it up in your hand and go around. When you go to to the next zone, you can change it. And it would encompass several layers, and we call it as the anatomy of it. So if you look at it, there is first the map that is the outside, and beneath the map there will be what we call play light, or some kind of light LED system that is providing the playful mechanisms. This is a small prototype to show the light effects. Actually, it works with Arduino, a very simple Arduino, and then some LED strips built into a matrix. And the circuit board level is the brain of it, the processors, and then there would be the base that is the body that encompasses all these pieces and holds them together. I will go again a bit more into detail of each level to give you a bit ideas about what can be done or what have we been researching up to now. The thing about map is there are several factors to it. There are the factors of scale, how to represent space in this platform, how would it match the game, or if there's a game zone, what is the relation between the real cartography and the game zone. But also the thing that is going to become most important is the style of these maps. And cartography is an ancient technology, and there are innumerable examples of different styles and different scales and different ways of representing space. And if you see here, there are these ones that are based on landmarks or interest points. Like there's London and some imaginary place or Venice, and you can see that there are a lot of amount of possibilities. And another style, another important way of representing data is historical, in the sense that, for example, the maps of Vienna from 100 years ago was completely different from the maps of today, but also the same. So there are some streets that are the same, but the Donau, the canal, the Danube was completely different. Or the Ringstraße didn't exist because there were the walls. And this kind of historical shifts can be an important modality to take the players to somewhere else, to a magical zone. And another one is illustrative, in the sense that it's more abstract but more aesthetic and using more personal styles. And the last one is technology, in the sense that there are smart materials like conductive paint, blacklight paint, glow-in-the-dark paint, or several other like thermoreactive paint that when you touch it changes color. There are all these things and all these different types of creative technology, Faire, creative technology paints, as we call, and you can print with screen printing technique with these materials on cardboards, and then let's say if you use conductive ink, you print layers, like let's say the buildings, the reddish buildings over there, you can just print them and then somehow connect them, and then you can make the surface interactive to touch or to, I don't know, rubbing, for example. And when you use this kind of screen printing with creative technology inks, it is important to keep it minimum so that it doesn't get so complicated. This is why for these technology styles we went to more simple one, or like monochromatic or two color based map styles, so that it can be easier to produce. Next thing, play light. This is actually the LED layer of the thing, but we also see it as the voice of this board map, because this is how the game would talk with you in a way. You can ideally this would be printed on some kind of flexible copper, like these strips that are quite light and even bendable. And there are various things you can do with such an LED matrix. You can use pulses or heartbeat rates or some kind of let's say any kind of light pattern to convey a message. or you can, of course, most essentially it would show you the locations, like when you need to go somewhere else or when the game next hint is on a location that would be marked with the map, with the light itself. And this brings the complex issue of matching the light positionings, LED positionings with the map. So if you, let's say, decide on one game location that is where the next hint is hidden, would you place, if you want to place it directly under it, the LED, then you have to prepare a custom PCB for this light matrix. And this is why I put this image, because then you can also think of modalities like you take the city map, let's say OpenStreetMaps, apply a script to it that divides the buildings and roads and positions LEDs, and then this is translated into some kind of PCB schematic. And this would be one other modality, and it can also be reused in the sense that, let's say I make a game, I would use this, but when a friend of mine also or someone else wants to make a game, he can just select, okay, Rögegasse 6, and then the light would light up, and we can use address systems in this way. And of course there is the point persistence of vision effects, and this photo is actually from Magic Shifter that is exhibited in the first floor under MetaLab. It's from Vienna, so I would also advise to you to have a look at this. But basically, it's a column of strip, LED strip, and when you shake it, you start to see images using persistence of vision. And of course, using these RGB SMD LEDs are very practical for this. The circuit board or the brain part of it, there are various options as well we've been looking into. I have them all here as well. So there are so many different types of Arduinos with radio, with Bluetooth, with small scale or directly like chip. There are these versions from Adafruit that already comes with battery connections and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and also there's Raspberry Pi Zero that is like another level because it has much more functionality, but somehow using an operating system based board can become more complex to develop the game, also to maintain, and you need to plug all the Wi-Fi and everything. Like there aren't a wide range of options for Raspberry Pi or similar things in small scale. And the last thing is the base and body. Of course, you can 3D print, make it out of plastic, but somehow paper or wood seems like the right material to go. First, because it's the material for board games, paper. Second, it's much more natural, much more playful, much more lighter, and you can laser cut also layers of it out of wood, or you can prepare with paper, but you can also recycle, you can upcycle. We throw a lot of paper, but maybe we can also use the methods to reuse them, and this would also make the body of the thing. These are from recycled cardboards, for example, prototypes. And the last important part of the concept are the games itself. In the course of this funded project, we will produce three playable prototypes, and I will go into them. First game concept is Im Untergrund. By the way, some people in our team are already here. Philip is, for example, directing Im Untergrund. Basically, it's a narrative kind of crime thriller game where it takes place in post-Second World War in Vienna, where it's divided and is inspired by the Third Man, and there are a lot of black market trafficking, and you are a police investigator trying to solve a mystery, and your main tool is this special agent tool that lets you hear things or the conversations that are happening either in the sewage systems or behind closed doors or inside the buildings and all. but it's actually radio. So you use basic this kind of radio transmitter that is for 5 euros actually, and you can implement this in, let's say you go and talk with some kind of cafe, and Cafe Afro for example, and then put one of these game devices, and then it would broadcast the part of the game in means of conversation, and the players would have the radio receiver. This is an open project from our sector in Future Lab, Linzenschnitte, and it's basically a radio receiver. But the thing is also you can find radio everywhere, so you can also crowdsource the tools of the game in that sense, that people maybe just play with their phones which have radio. And the second game is Wunderkammer Wien. It's based on the fact that it's based on the concept of Wunderkammer, where curiosities have been collected by most of the time aristocracy, and then they were exhibited to friends of these people in special rooms, and this also set up the understanding of museums in a way. And Vienna also has lots of curiosities, lots of interesting things hidden on the floors, on the buildings, on some small corners that are not visible, and we want to provide some kind of playful way of discovering these. And the main, in a way, again, the lights would show you where you need to go, but once you're on location, you would get a persistence of vision riddle, in the sense that you shake it, and then you see some kind of icon, some maybe text, and this would be your riddles to find really the objects. And when you are really close to it, then you would get some kind of feedback that would be maybe a number that you can go to the playbook or look at some cards to find the historical information or the story about this thing. And one other important part of it is that it uses the public transport, in the sense that the map also helps you go around the city. And this is again the using the city or the infrastructure of city to facilitate the game in a better format. The last one is Schatten der Nacht. It's a one-directional gameplay, in the sense that you go through the steps of an experience, and the experience is from a schizophrenic that lived 100 years ago in Vienna, and you witness his trip as he leaves his therapy and goes home, and as he starts to again have hallucinations, and the fantasy and the boundary between the fantasy and reality starts to blur, and you discover his hallucinations using black light. As you know, the Donau Canal area is free graffiti zone, which means you can freely draw something, paint something there. So we have all these black light inks, paints of different colors, of different modalities, and the idea is that we would make several paintings of telling his hallucinations, and then you would, using your map, go and try to discover one by one what's happening. And just to show you, this is like a paper, but it's actually with a lot of weird things. And black light is invisible. Most of the black lightings are completely invisible, and this also creates a magical experience in that sense. And fortunately, these free graffiti zones enable people to also, let's say, if we also distribute stamps, small stamps with black light ink, we also give the people to leave traces as well. So it becomes also a participatory thing. So when they discover something, maybe they would make small trails with these stamps, or leave some messages, or maybe give false messages, but in a way that we want to also give this to the people. And apart from these, we have in the course of the research phase of the project, we have generated around 8 game ideas as well. I will not go into them, you can have a look at them later. But one thing is misguides or not guiding you but misguiding you to a different experience in the city. The other one is on the move in the sense that it's a game designed to be played in the urban transportation network like trams or U-Bahn. And the third one is Sirens and Lotus Flowers, that somehow a map to the underground nightlife of Vienna, because Vienna is also famous for it. The fourth one is Primitive Technology. This is somehow similar to Minecraft in the sense that what are the resources in a city, like what can you collect, what can you build up, or where you find it, and what can you do with them. Like you can think of these resources as, I don't know, water, maybe wood or sand, or you can also think of Wi-Fi, electricity, like this kind of using this modality that you have to maybe collect them is one other modality. And there are four more. I will not go into it, but you can talk later if you want. And two important future directions that we want to focus on is first, smart city win, smart city integration, because there's a lot of effort in making things smart and more efficient, but not really taking into focus the people living in that city, the communities, or making them more involved in this kind of smart city development. And in general, we think of making things smart but not playful, and this is one important aspect for us to have a look at this in a wider range. The second one is educational. Somehow the educational aspect of it, in the sense that whatever knowledge that we generate should be transmitted to others, and this creates the educational level. And also it is important that, let's say, the kids, when they want to make games for their neighborhoods, there should be options for workshops, or people can be able to explain them how to make games. Because the children of the new generations, for example, they are crazy with Minecraft. They can do incredible things, and this kind of technology from the courses I gave to children, they are extremely attractive and new, and there should be ways of innovate for the children to reach what's happening in this field. Before I finish the team, currently we are officially 5, unofficially 6. 5 of us are in Austria, 1 is in Berlin. I am taking the responsibility, the managerial responsibility of the project, so you can say I'm the founder, but we are the founders anyhow. But also what I do is creative technology and design, interaction design. There's Simon there. He is in charge of creative direction and graphic design. There's Philip there. He's in charge of orchestration and direction of the games, as well as game design. There is Sophie, who is responsible for documentation and media production. There's Utku for business and marketing, and another ex-colleague and good friend, Imanol, that is also with creative technology. And here are all the image and icon credits if you want. And that's it. Thank you.